Welcome back to Great American Underdog, where you could hear stories that will give you the courage to act, the resilience to keep going, and the discipline when motivation fades. Have you ever hit a point in your life that forced you to rebuild not just your business or career, but your identity? That's exactly what today's episode is about. My guest, Dan Sachkowsky, started his construction company at 17 years old, found a massive success really young, lost everything in the '08 crash, rebuilt again, and then in 2022, suffered from a massive heart attack that forced him to redefine what success actually means. In this conversation, we're going to get into what it really takes to come back after life's knocked you down hard and the mindset that you need that separates real entrepreneurs from the rest, and how to build a business that supports your life rather than consumes it. So if you enjoy conversations like this, make sure you hit subscribe, like the video, comment your biggest takeaway, and share it with somebody that you know needs to hear it. Thank you, and let's get into it. We're going to talk today about the truth behind rebuilding, the mindset shifts that separate entrepreneurs and leaders, and how to create a business that doesn't collapse every time life throws a punch. It's my honor to welcome Dan Sachkowsky. Dan, welcome.
Oh man, thank you for having me on.
And it's a pleasure to have you on, man. Ever since we met, definitely I have learned a lot just from watching your content and how you really help entrepreneurs and leaders grow their life and their business. So before we get into that piece of it and the success that you have in the rebuilds, who were you really growing up, and what did life feel like for you in those early years?
I grew up super humble beginnings, and my family, I would say, was below average. If you talk to my family, they would say that they were average. They had really limiting beliefs in what they were doing. As a young kid, we lived in a place where we didn't see the greater part of life because we were kind of like sheltered in this little area where we lived in a project, so we weren't allowed to go too far because we would get jumped or get shot. And things were just like not coming together because we didn't really know the outside world. Any traveling we did was in a family vehicle, and it was usually going to another family member's house. Um, until we moved to the suburbs. And when we moved to the suburbs, in order to live in a normal home, a three-bedroom home, my grandparents and my uncle had to move in with us. So it was kind of rough, man. Like you live in an apartment your whole life and it's super tight, and you're accustomed to those livings. Now you're moving into a place that's a little bit bigger, but you're bringing in more people. And when you start seeing the dynamics of people around the suburbs, like they're not living like that. Maybe someone's grandma was living with them because they had a mother daughter or something, but nobody was cramming this many people into a three-bedroom house. So I know at this point that for life to get better, I had to get better by choice, not by chance. Like I had to be the one to make the difference because the way that my parents were living was the way that they were accustomed to and just kind of the way that they thought they were supposed to be. So at a young age, around 15 years old, I read my first book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And after reading that book, we passed Bon Jovi's house. My dad said that those were rich people. I remember like it was yesterday. And something resonated with me. He said, those are rich people. We'll never be rich. And still to this day, he denies saying that because I think at times when you're an individual and you believe a certain thing, shit comes out of your mouth and you don't even know what you're saying. So he to this day doesn't recall saying that, but he said that. And I remember it vividly. And that was a turning point in my life. That's when the switch flipped. And that's when I knew that whatever those rich people are doing, I want to do it because I think that their style of living is a little bit more comfortable than mine.
I give you tremendous credit with that type of upbringing, to be able to say there has to be something else because, like you were just mentioning, so many people get trapped in their limiting beliefs or the beliefs that they get passed down to them because of their environment and never truly leave that, right? So you could have definitely taken the route that said, oh, that's not for me, right? Like you could be at a gas station and the guy with the Lamborghini rolls up at the gas station or the nice car, and your parents could have said, oh, don't go near that car. That's not for us. And you could have said, okay, that's not for me. And maybe went a totally different path. So I commend you tremendously to be able to say, there's got to be something more out there because I think a lot of people get stuck in those limiting beliefs early on in their life.
Yeah. And the older you get, the more conditioned you get. So we almost like feel like we don't have a choice as we get older. because I see it with people. I see trying to unravel all this nonsense out of people's lives. You almost like you dream as a kid, and then all of a sudden you face reality as an adult, and it's like you're not allowed to dream anymore. You're not allowed to have a vision anymore. It's like, all right, you just kind of like wherever mediocrity throws you, you just kind of sit there.
Yeah, take it, and then you end up being status quo. But for people like yourself, me, and the audience listening, they're interested in learning how to rise above that. And I think for a lot of people, they know it's possible because they see other people do it, but they really don't know the ins and outs of what it takes from a mental perspective and an identity perspective, and resonating with that identity of who you want to become. And you started at a construction company at 17 years old. And entrepreneurship, a lot of times for most people, if they even get into it, does not start that young. So, outside of obviously what you just explained to me with dad, what else pulled you into entrepreneurship that young rather than trying to go get a job, let's say? And what were you really thinking about chasing at that time?
So by the time I was 17, I had already read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I already read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I was a high school dropout. Like I literally failed out of high school because I realized at a young age, I think I was like 14, maybe my freshman year. My teacher was a fat shit. My business teacher didn't own a business. So I said, like, this is really messed up that like we're supposed to be listening to somebody who's out of shape teaching us phys ed, number one. Number two, there's a business class that the guy's reading out of a book, but he's never owned a business before. When I asked him a question about business, he literally went to go look it up. So knowing that the system has been created to almost like make us into individual people that follow the same trends and do the same thing over and over again. And this repetitive system to hold us back from the biggest potentials. After reading those two books, I realized that like there's two ways to think. You can think like everybody else, or you can think about like the few that are actually making it happen. So I never had a job my entire life. And I realized, for me to do something outside of what I was doing, I had to make a decision. That decision was going to be hard. Every decision we make is hard. It's either hard on us or it's hard, as we go through it. And we have to figure out what kind of hard do we want to test.
Yeah, choose your heart ultimately. And chapter 9 of Think and Grow Rich, persistence, right? Like that's something that I think you can develop over time. But when you see everybody, to your point, living accepting that same level of life and saying, this is just how it is, I think that drives the persistence element in certain individuals, right? Because like you and me, for example, that's not something that I ever want to live, is that, quote unquote, average kind of life where you're just going to get a job, go to work, retire, and die. And I
Mhm.
think that, like you said, the system very much so wants to create employees and people that are going to be servants to the system. So when you realize that there's something more out there, and like you said, like you read Rich Dad Poor Dad, so you know that there was the opportunity for more based on the Rich Dad in that book, as you know. There's that persistence that develops inside of you of saying, and that hunger that I can go do this and I can go get it. And that sounds like why you got into entrepreneurship at such a young age.
Yeah, I just wanted more. I knew that like if I did what everybody else was doing, I was going to have what everybody else had. And to be able to, be above average, you have to not do what the average people were doing. And we go to schools from first grade to 12th grade where they taught by average people how to do average things. So, and people get pissed off when you say, listen, the world needs teachers. But I think in today's day and age, people used to be excited about being a teacher, passionate about being a teacher. Now today, people just want to push kids through the curriculum because there's too many kids in a classroom. There's not enough, for them to go out there and be able to afford to live. There's so many different things they're doing. There's so many distractions that like our kids are just wasting their time. And, they're learning things that like us that we're never going to use in the real world. So I knew that, by reading the books and spending time with the people who were already doing the things that I wanted to do, I would definitely be living an elevated life. But if I started listening to the people who were living the below average life, I was going to have a below average life as well.
Brian Tracy in Change Your Thinking, Change Your Life often talks about the screen of beliefs inside our heads, right? We have it like a filter almost. And whenever information we put through there, we decide if it's good or bad. So you had that decision right there in that moment to decide I'm going to have my screen of beliefs be that there's more out there rather than accepting what everybody else is telling me is acceptable. And I commend you for that. Cause it takes a lot of heart and guts to be able to do that.
Yeah, man.
So walk me through like when you started that construction company at 17, I guess number one, why construction for you? And then what was like the lifestyle from there that you were living through your mid 20s? Like what did success look like for you at that point in your life?
So construction, because I went to vocational school for construction. It's just kind of the trade I learned, and I like building things and working with my hands. And I just started like I like wood shop early on in life, as a freshman and sophomore. So I like do creating things, and I just felt like I could become passionate about something, like turning something into nothing. So that's why I went down that road, and I had no business doing business, but I just knew at the end of the day, as long as I figured it out, which most entrepreneurs just figure it out, I would be there. And, from doing front doors to windows to decks, in my late teens into my early 20s, building houses. Like I built my first house for somebody at 21. That just blew my mind. But I believed I can do it. I went to school, like a night school class, learned blueprint reading and drafting. So I understood the concept of it. And I just picked it all up by myself. Listen, did I make mistakes? Yes. But you know what? I knew the mistakes. Nobody else knew the mistakes. If the wall was a couple inches high, I knew it. Nobody else knew, but these are the things that you learn over time. So, what success looked like for me was during that era, from me being 17 to 24, a very popular show on TV was MTV Cribs. And when you saw these big houses, when you saw these nice cars, one thing that you were never told was they were rented for the video. So the way that it was projected was like, hey, this is success. Look at all these cars. Look at this house. Look at what I got. And blah, 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 blah. Like now you think back, you go, man, like if you really think about all those houses, they were empty. There was no pictures of people on the wall. There was nothing, the cars literally looked like they were brand new. You didn't even see like a cup in there. Right. So like we don't see that stuff until later on. So I chased the money. I chased fame. I chased everything. I had a almost 5,000 square foot house. I built at 22 for me and my family. Um, I had two Escalades. I mean, I had an S55 AMG. I had motorcycles. I had quads. I had everything. You know what I mean? Like I had a house in Mexico. Like I had everything. And money was just pumping in. So when I started business in 1999, the economy was so good. I never saw a bad economy. So from 1999 to 2006, dude, I was making money hand over fist. I think 2006, I made 680 grand net. I was 24 years old. That's stupid. And I was spending 684 grand. Like as much as I was making, I was spending. Like literally flying first class everywhere, doing this, jets, that, or another thing, like, whatever, just to live the lifestyle because that's what we think rich is. Till the phone stopped ringing. The phone stops ringing, and I have like, I don't know, $500,000 in cash saved up. And over the next 12 months, I'm dipping into my savings, putting it into my company, paying my bills because no money's coming in. Now I'm almost at zero. And I go, I got a major problem here. And I had to file bankruptcy because I had nothing left.
It's crazy to me, like what you were just saying about how the MTV Cribs. I would equate that to today's version of social media, which is people renting jets and Lamborghinis and all the shit that quote unquote is making somebody successful just to sell like a course or whatever it is, and the links that people will go to, but you don't see what's really behind all of that, right? And that's such an incredible point that you made with the MTV Cribs piece, because I don't think people realize that even today on social media, that with the lengths that people go to curate a certain type of lifestyle just for the attention piece versus the people that usually do it and do it at high levels. Number one, the quality of the content is there, like yourself. And two, they're not necessarily just doing it for a paycheck. They're doing it for the amount of impact that they're going to be making on other people. Where a lot of the MTV Crib curated type of content creators that are out there, they're doing it in a way that's a little bit more manipulative and not genuine and authentic. So, you having that realization early on in your career has definitely benefited you.
Yeah, these influencers really pissed me off. like renting all these houses, renting all these cars, and posting stuff and selling programs, and creating a lifestyle that's not even real. And other people are allowing them to afford that because they're selling some bullshit. So I mean, listen, like if you look at my content, like, yeah, do I have cars? Do I have houses? Yes, but I'm not posting them because that's irrelevant. That might not be what success looks like to other people, but what message am I sharing with someone if I go, oh, I have this car, oh, I have that? Like, number one, I'm going to attract the wrong people because I'm going to be bringing the wrong value. Yes, I'll attract more people. Like, so those guys attract more people because lower hanging fruit is always attracted by the shiny objects. But when you're talking about people who actually are movers and shakers and want to make a difference, can give two shits about that stuff.
Yeah, it's completely irrelevant because they're more worried about the type of impact that they're making in their relationships and in the people that they're serving. And I see that a lot in your content, and anybody that interfaces with it clearly is getting a lot of value. So that's definitely there. And then, you'd mentioned something else too when you were talking before about like you made 680 grand and you spent 680 grand. And you had said in the past, I heard you on another interview, I knew how to make money, but I just didn't know how to keep it. I guess when did that realization start to creep in? Because so many people out there, right? They say, oh, I'm going to make 250,000, 500,000, seven figures, whatever the number is. But what they don't tend to realize is also they start spending money for that lifestyle rather than maybe reinvesting it and things like that. So when did you start to have that realization, and how did you make the changes?
So I was chasing money for those years. And after I went bankrupt, I realized that I was chasing all the wrong things. And then over the next like 10 plus years, I realized that everyone chases money. More people, have more weekends enter the money. And because they're literally like setting up their day, their week, their month, their year based on their expected income, but not anticipating anything else that's going to fall into place. Like we're in the holiday season now, right? So like people are going to put themselves in major holes to go out there and buy people for things that don't even care. People that aren't even going to open them, and they're going to do all the wrong things for the wrong reasons, put themselves in debt to try to put a smile on somebody else's face when they're going to be miserable for the first quarter of 2026, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, when I filed for bankruptcy and I walked home that day from my lawyer's office and I walked in my house, I saw my two boys sitting there and they were smiling, they were laughing, and they just wanted me to pick them up. So I said, man, like that's rich right there. Like, I was chasing all the wrong stuff. And if I continue to do this, it's going to be a cynical cycle where I make money, I lose money, I make money, I lose money. But one lesson I did learn was that like history repeats itself. So like for every up, we're going to have as many lows, and for every low, we're going to have as many ups, as long as you keep fighting through the cycle. And that's just what's happened over the last 26 years is, every time I went up, I came down. Every time I went up, I came down, and that's how it goes. And the higher you want to go. So if you look at like a long, um, view of a mountain, right? You can see a mountain, then you can see another mountain behind it, then you can see another mountain behind it, and they just keep going up and up and up. So the way the success looks is like we're allowed to get to that first mountain. We're allowed to be at the valley, go to the top, and then we got to fall down, and our next climb is a little bit higher, and then we fall a little bit deeper. So like you got to go through those motions. You got to go through that. But getting to the top or the middle mountain is a lot easier than getting to the top of the first mountain. Because once you learn the pattern and you understand how it works, you become a master at it. So everyone always asks me to go like, if you can go back in time and give your 20-year-old self some advice, like what's one thing that you regret or one thing that you would tell yourself? And I said, the only thing I regret back then was I didn't ask for help. So I think, number one is kids, like we're a little bit wet behind our ears, right? And we think we know everything. We got this, and we have too much pride and too much ego to ask for help. But I read those couple books. I'm like, man, all right, these books taught me everything I need to know. Here we go. And I'm watching MTV Cribs and I'm chasing shiny objects. But after that cycle of my life, I hired my first coach. And once I hired my first coach, now I'm like, wow, like I have somebody in my life who has common values. I have somebody in my life who's got a common past and a common future. And it started separating me from people who had a common past. And it started showing me that like, hey, there's people out there who are willing to take you with them as long as you're willing to do the work. When you're in this world of being successful, most of the people around you want to hold you back.
Yeah, 100%, because a lot of people don't want to see you be more successful than them, especially at those like common places that you had just mentioned, compared to when you're around the people that have the type of success, not just materially shiny objects, but literal, real success. The familial success, the identity success, the ability for abundance in multiple verticals in your life. Uh, you start to get around those people and you start realizing that things can be a lot different. And even for me, Dan, like when I did recruiting in the automotive industry, a lot of times when I was speaking with people, I used to always use the acronym CASH, KASH, which stands for knowledge, attitude, skill set, and habits. And I used to always say, like, you can give somebody knowledge and you can give somebody skill sets. You can't teach attitude and habits. Like you either have the right type of attitude or you don't. Um, but that's something that clearly for you, you had that learning curve happen for you at a young enough age. And because of failure, which you had mentioned again, like so many people aren't willing to even try because they're too scared to fail or look bad, especially today where the
Yep.
spotlight's on you with social media, right? But when you don't have that limiting belief mindset of if I failed, that's a lesson. I have a sign behind me right now that says sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. So being able to learn from those mistakes and then climb that second mountain, maybe more efficiently and quicker than you did that first time.
That's true, man. Your mindset is everything. Your attitude creates your altitude. And, based on what you think and what you believe is going to be the heights that you're going to be able to achieve. So, like, we are the creator or the destroyer of our lives by the way that we think and the way that we believe on the things that we feel that we can accomplish and we can be a part of. But that wasn't our whole life. I mean, when we were kids, we were relentless. We had grit. We wanted something, we did it, whether it was from crawling up those first couple of stairs and our parents kept pulling us down. When they turned their back, our ass was up 5 stairs. You know what I mean? Like we knew we were going. And then, same thing with like riding the bike. We wanted to ride the bike, we wanted to ride the bike. Why do most kids not get off of training wheels quick enough? Because mommy or daddy coddles them and doesn't want them to fall. But like when the kids like see someone else on the neighborhood that doesn't have their training wheels on, take them off. No, you're too, take them off. My one kid was riding a bike with no training wheels at like 2.5. You know what I mean? He's like a beast. But at the end of the day, like we have to accept that if our kids want to do something and be something, we don't shut them down. But we were shut down as kids. We were able to put that gold frame Corvette on our wall or a gold frame Lamborghini on our wall from the boardwalk, but we weren't ever able to picture it in our driveway because that wasn't our thing. But when we're a kid and we're laying in our bed and we're looking at that picture, we're like, I want that car. I want to have that car. And the only thing that stops us from getting it is believing other people telling us we can't.
For me, it was a Dodge Viper, but still same, same lesson. And it is because people telling you can't. But to your point with like the training wheels piece, even you got to take the training wheels off, and you have to be willing to be bad. I always mention it with boxing, right? Like people want to get in the ring and they think it's a tough guy contest, and they lead with ego and they lead with aggression until they realize that the calmest fighters are the best fighters because they're the best thinking individuals. And when you're able to stay calm in that chaos and you don't lead with the shiny objects, like, or look at the Dodge Viper or the vet on your wall, or you don't lead with that anger or ego, it gives you the ability to learn and go through a learning curve, but you have to humble yourself and you have to have a good amount of that before you can actually go and find the success that you might be looking for. Because if you can't get past that part and you're not willing to fail, you're not going to achieve anything really great in your life ultimately.
100% true.
Yeah, and when you went through that bankruptcy, and I know that you had also mentioned in the past that you had gotten robbed. Um, what was that season like for you? Like, from even an emotional standpoint, Dan, what was going through your head at that time? And I guess how did you figure out how to dig yourself out after such a tribulation, right?
Here's what's funny is that most people who like read my bios or like look into my stuff, they talk. You're the first person who ever actually asked about the robbery. So like, you definitely looked into me. Um, but I went bankrupt twice.
Mm.
Um, so I went bankrupt at an early age, and then I made a few million bucks again. And I built a company, and I sold another company, and then I ended up buying a bad company. And this is what led into the robbery. Uh, I bought a bad company. So once I sold my business, I bought my competitor out, and his books were cooked. Him and his ex-wife like cash checks and did stuff, but didn't insert it. Everything that we viewed, everything that went through the broker, it was all bullshit. And the day I bought the business, I was $3 million in debt. So they fled to Florida. There was no going after them. And a lot of that money was like Sandy money from Hurricane Sandy. So it was government money. So now he's off the hook. Now I'm off the hook. So basically, I bought a company with bad debt with money that was government money, and it was on me now because I signed the paper. That was pretty shitty. So this company was so far in debt, dude. Like he had debtors coming after him and creditors coming after him that I literally had to stop putting money in the bank because the accounts were getting levied. So what happened was I started cashing the checks and putting money in a safe. And I had a safe in the office and it was bolted to the floor. And one of my employees at the time was a degenerate gambler and had massive debt to his bookie. I guess told his bookie, hey, I know that there's a bunch of money here. You come get it. Gave him the garage door code. I have it all on surveillance. I literally just saw the stuff yesterday. I was going through my Google Drive, and it's funny how you bring it up. And he gave him the code to the garage. They walked right to the back room where the safe was. There was a camera right on the safe. So like we saw the whole thing. They blew the safe out of the floor. They're carrying the safe out of the building. They stole a bunch of tools. It takes a year and a half for them to get arrested. We can't prove how much money's there. So they don't get, it's almost like a misdemeanor for them. They get a slap on the wrist. They get like a couple months probation with no restitution. Dude, I'm $3 million in the hole. Now I'm another $500,000 in the hole because I had $500,000 in there. So I tried keeping this company alive for another year and I couldn't do it. So I had to close that company. So that was 2017.
Wow.
So yeah, so 2007 and 10 years later, we'll up again.
And between both those times, Dan, I guess what was now at this point the driver to keep going? It's just that was it really just again staying to that true north of I know what I'm capable of. I've done this before. I could do it again. Because a lot of people would probably stop at that point and saying I've had some really shitty luck and some unfortunate circumstances.
And got a job, most people. But
Yeah, that's right.
yeah, I was unemployable. Like there was no other decision that had to be made, but just had to figure it out. So I went from making a lot of money to losing it all to making a lot of money to selling a company, having a lot of money, then buying a company, then losing it all, then getting robbed, and then starting all over again, right? So I knew I was really good at making money and losing it. And that's what you said, you know what I mean? So like I knew that was good about me. So the next company I built it from scratch and we did like 5 million in the first year from zero because I knew how to build companies. So
What
now,
did you do differently with that rebuild, do you think?
um, marketing approach, systems, processes. I built a whole business around the processes and the systems that I built for the business. That way I could work on the business, not in the business, put the right people in place to run the business. And I basically was the outside, just kind of like the ringleader, the guy in the circus, you know what I mean? Like, hey, do this, hey, do this. But like, we had such good culture. We had such good stuff. And it was like, I took care of my people. I paid people good. Like, I did everything I was supposed to do the right way. And I built 2 companies within that time and sold both of those companies since. And that's what led into the heart attack, right? So like the one company was already gone and the other companies like wanted honest climb up so fast, so fast. This is during COVID. And like literally the company's just blowing up. So I hired a couple extra people and then That's when I had the heart attack. And when I had the heart attack, I realized that when I was laying in the ambulance, I thought I was dead. I thought it was the last day of my life. And when I wake up in the hospital, and first off, the hospital is the worst place to be because half of the people in there don't even know what the hell they're doing. So, like, I'm telling these people to call my doctor, do this. Good thing I knew one of the nurses through someone I know. So she took like extra care of me and, made sure I was okay, even though I wasn't in her unit. She knew I was there. But like, the nurses today are just like teachers today, where nobody's passionate about what they do anymore because of the numbers and they just want to get the paycheck. People used to care about what they do. Now, if people don't care about what they do, they just want to get paid. And she even said, like, listen, like, don't let this one help you. Don't let that one help you because they don't care. If you need anything, let me know. So 3 days after I get out of the hospital, and while I'm in the hospital, the first night I was there, I said, God, listen, like, I don't know, what I did or didn't do to deserve this or not deserve this, or what you're trying to tell me. But what I can tell you right now is that my thoughts going through my head while I was in that ambulance were like, if I were to die today, what have I really done impactful in this world?
Mhm.
And the answer was nothing. I made a lot of money. But what does that mean? That doesn't mean nothing. My kids had stuff, if I would have died, my kids would have had a couple $1 million. That's cool. But at the end of the day, like, what does that hash in between those two dates really represent today? It represents nothing. So 40 years of my life not to build something that literally means nothing. So I told God, I had a conversation with him and I said, listen, like, you survived me through this and you let me figure this out and you get me healthy. I promise you that I will be the most impactful servant that you know for the rest of my life. So that was my decision to get rid of my companies fully, help entrepreneurs, people who are in business become serious entrepreneurs, not like an employee that owns a business that works more than everybody else and gets paid the least. No, because that's where everyone mostly is. I want to show all these people how to become the CEO, have quality of life, have freedom, build a business around their life, not a life around their business. And be able to do the right things. And, when they come home to their kids, their kids don't get like sloppy seconds. Like, all right, I've been working 10 hours a day. I'm exhausted. I want to sit on my couch. Leave me alone. Like, I want people who are fully alert, no matter where they are, what they're doing, to be impactful. And I knew that that was my mission because I knew how to make money. I knew how to lose it. So I knew how to avoid certain things and tell people how to avoid them. I knew where to take people to build businesses. And I knew how to be a good leader. I knew how to be a good father. So that's where my mission went. My mission went to, helping people, coaching people, putting on masterminds. I coach people one-on-one. I'm a business builder and I'm a hope dealer. You know what I mean? Like, I give people hope. I let people like really see what they saw at one point, but maybe gave up on, or give them that childlike mentality again, or give them that vision and just help them live that vision again. And I feel so full day in and day out. I used to hate being called boss. One thing I really hated being called boss. I hate it. But when people go, thanks, coach. Like, I remember saying thanks to my coach, my football coach, to my coach, like, because my coach believed in me. Now people say this to me and people look up to me. Hey, coaches, I want to tell you something there. Oh, I'm so proud of you, blah, 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 whatever it is. And just that little bit of movement when people are making a difference in their own lives. And I'm the one who helped them create that and do that because maybe there was just one shift away from the better part of their life and what was coming next. That's so much more rewarding than the $30 million I've made in the last 26 years.
Man, what you just said is so profound for so many reasons, and something that I can resonate with because as someone who did some boxing coaching after I won Golden Gloves, and also someone who is now a business coach, it's incredible to me, like you said, how many people are more interested in, okay, is it going to get me closer to a paycheck rather than realizing like that mindset of being a business within a business if you are working in somebody else's business, right? And most importantly, the impact that you're making, even if you take the car salespeople, for example, they're not just selling a car. And I try to remind them of this. They're selling a lifestyle, right? Because what are they going to be doing with that vehicle? Do they take it on vacations? Do they need it for their business? Is it a safety thing in terms of getting their kids to school safe? Like they look at what the impact they're making is, and actually define it. It, there's a sense of purpose, that you create from doing that and being the one that brings that to their attention. There's something to that, as coaches that I know you understand. It's when we run into the people that are more transactional rather than relationship builders. And yes, can you convert some of those transactional people into relationship builders? Sure. But I'm looking for the people that are looking just like you. And I rather be able to make the impact on one person who really freaking gets it. And that impact could be exponential, even with like the podcast. If it gets to hundreds of thousands, even millions of subscribers one day, great. But right now, just this one conversation can impact somebody in a way that changes their whole life. And if that's the case, then I know I did a great job. And I know that we had a profound conversation. And the other piece too is the dash in between your numbers. My business partners, when we first started working together, he wrote a questionnaire to me to ask me some questions before our first meeting. And one of the questions, Dan, was, what will your epitaph read like? And I had never, at the time I was 29, 28, I had never like really thought of that. And what he really was asking me is what you said. What is the impact that you're going to leave on this work? No one's going to remember the money or the materials or that. They're going to remember how you made them feel, which I know you know is the famous Maya Angelou quote. So it's really incredible what you just said. And I love that you call yourself a hope dealer.
At the end of the day, man, like I'm a visionary, and I know what's possible, and being able to show other people what's possible and help people, fight that mind battle that they go through because maybe they don't believe in themselves, or maybe they give up on themselves, or whatever it is, or even some of the biggest business owners that I coach that are making 10, 15, $20 million a year, but they're still stuck. It doesn't matter the level of success in your life or the level of, wherever you are. It's all about like how you become impactful today moving forward. And most people haven't made a significant impact in this world yet because they're just going through the motions.
For sure. And, from hosting the 7-figure blueprint syndicate, let's just say, you've brought hundreds of entrepreneurs together, which is an incredible feat. What do you see in that room when you're doing it? Like that has confirmed essentially the impact, that you're having and how people, I guess, could grow together. Like, do you see a lot of collaboration that comes out of those rooms as well? Obviously you see a lot of impacts because I know your content's impactful.
Yeah. So like, here's what I'm compared to, right? So everyone has been invited to a networking event before. A networking event is where people can get some free food, get a couple drinks, mingle, get away from their spouse, get away from their kids, and to just enjoy the night and just kind of have a good time with no rules. But when you put entrepreneurs in a room, bro, there was out of 170 people, there was 2 people who had a job. So the other 168 were all entrepreneurs. These guys and girls were locked in, dude. When I tell you, like, it was like they were strapped in on an Indy car and they were going for a ride, faces forward, ready to go, like into it, because every single person at that level wants more.
That's right.
No, they need more. But now it's like, how do you get the person who's not even at that level yet to want more? They think they're going to do it in a networking event by one more sale. It's like the guy who sells insurance. Every time you see him out, hey, can I look at your portfolio? Yeah, you can look at my portfolio. Show me your portfolio. I want to see how much money you want to manage my money. I want to see how much money you have.
Yeah. What
And
do
it's
you
always,
already doing?
well, I'm just getting started. Well, why are you talking to me then? Right? Like, go make some money, go do something. And you should be presenting a book of business to me like, hey, this is what I can do. Because you're just like everybody else where nobody wants to talk to you. It's like when you go to a cars dealer, right? Like you see the quiet guy in the corner who doesn't want to, then you got the guy who meets the person outside, but then you also have the guy inside who's watching and he knows like when to attack, right? So like, you all have all the different types of people, but at the end of the day, the best people in their industry are the ones who are locked in and know what their avatar is, what their bait is, and when they're going to attack. So having entrepreneurs in a room like that, it was like almost like these guys have been starving for a year and we're about to feed them, right? So we're here with a feast of information. But then you got, if that room was full of 180 employees, they'd be on their phone, they'd be out in the bathroom talking, they'd be out in the hallway making noise. Because again, like they're not there yet. So
Good.
the reason why I love coaching entrepreneurs, and I only deal with people who make 6 figures or more, is because they have a higher IQ, higher quit level, right? Like,
Yeah.
and they are more inclined to do big things. We're starting something right now. We're creating a network, and it's going to be a high 6, 7, 8 figure network. And we're going to vet people to be in this network, and not everyone can join. The people are going to get pissed off that we're not going to let them join. But we don't want to bring the wrong people to the crowd of people that we're trying to attract. We want people to be able to do business together. So when entrepreneurs are in the room together, they talk about situations and solving problems. When entrepreneurs are in a room with people who want to hustle, but don't really make money, they're always trying to sell the entrepreneur something they don't need. If these younger or let's say lower hanging fruit actually learned that, hey, if you just went up to the entrepreneur and you asked them a question instead of trying to sell them, you probably would get more information and you'd build a relationship. And more than likely, then they would ask you what they do and they would say, how can they serve me? But all these young salespeople and young people in business, they think they're going to be like trained assassins and go out there and attack everybody. Well, that's not how entrepreneurs work. So why are we building this high level community? Because high level people want to have high level conversations. They want to talk about the stress at home. They want to talk about how they didn't make it to their kids' baseball game. They want to talk about, how literally, they were about to go on a jet and they didn't have enough fuel, like just like shit that no one would talk about. They don't want to talk about anything else, and they don't want to try to sell each other on business. They just want to have a conversation with someone who's level headed. So that's why we create that community.
Like you had mentioned, nobody that comes to those type of events, if they're a high level entrepreneur, they're not just opening up by pitching people. Like you said, the people that are still new or don't have the right mindset, the first thing they'd want to do is word vomit or pitch all over somebody. But what they have to do is remove the ABC, always be closing mindset and replace it with ABC, always be curious, always be connecting, always be creative. Because if you lead with some questions and you show that you're genuinely interested in other people, they're going to show some interest back in you, right? So I think that mindset piece is huge, and that EQ piece. And listen, not everybody can be part of the group, right? They have to prove that they have that inside of them, and actually show that they're genuinely interested in collaborating and growing together. So it's a big deal, and I resonate with that because I run into it a lot as well.
I think it's more EBV, like always bring value, right? Like what value can you bring?
I like
What
that.
can you do? And when we were coming up with the name of our group, like we didn't even entertain the word entrepreneur because the word entrepreneur is abused.
Yeah.
95% of people who call themselves entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs. Bro, they're not. They just because they're a school teacher and they have a fucking real estate license, they think they're an entrepreneur, right? Just because they're a horse salesman and they sell other stuff on DoorDash. They're doing two things. They're an entrepreneur. Like you're not an entrepreneur.
No.
An entrepreneur is somebody who's been able to establish time freedom and have money working for them. It's someone who's actually made an impact in the community. It's someone who's significant. So we call our group the Winner Circle. That's what's going to allow people to either come in or not come in. Bro, if you're not winning in life, you're not winning in life. If we called it an entrepreneur network, the entire world would want to be in there. But if you ain't winning, you ain't coming in. Bottom line.
And, I've heard you say in the past as well, like a lot of business owners, I'll put in quotes now, they don't own a business, they own a job. And I guess when you run into those types of individuals, what are some of the signs that they're stuck in that like glorified job stage, let's say, regardless of the money that they make, right? And I guess, do you go to help them out? And if so, like, do they have to have, I'm sure that they have to have certain qualities about them for you to help.
Majority of my coaching clients are business owners who are the bottom of their business. It doesn't matter how much money they're making. They could be making $10 million a year, $3 million a year, but they're still doing everything. Every decision goes through them. Every fire goes through them. Every meeting goes through them. Like that is a problem. It doesn't matter how big your business is. If you are a core part of your business, you don't own a business, you own a job. Because if your business is partially you, whether it's 30%, 40%, 50%, whatever it is, you can never sell that business. And if you can look at your business today and say, if I were to sell my business, could I fully exit the day I sold it? And if the answer is no, you're not the CEO of your company. You're a managing partner of your company that manages every part, right? So you're a managing partner to your office manager, you're a managing partner to your sales guy, you're a managing partner to your project manager, whatever industry you're in, you're a managing partner to everyone in your business because you don't want to let go of control. So we were all there, and that's where I was like in my early 17 to 24, I was doing everything. But at the end of the day, like I was the bottleneck, but it was different. I had a lot of guys working for me, I had stuff going on, and I could work 14 hours a day. But I knew that I hit that ceiling of income. And as I hit that ceiling of income, the economy crashed. But I think it crashed for all the right reasons. And it taught me a lot of lessons. Because if I would have kept doing what I was doing, I would have been working on burnout.
Yeah. And I feel like so many people in the winner circle, not entrepreneurs, end up doing, well, they don't end up doing that. The entrepreneurs end up working on burnout because of what you just said, which you've mentioned in the past as well, which is why no one can do it as good as me is such a dangerous belief. Like traction, which I see back there on your wall. I think chapter 2 or 3 it is. He talks about letting go of the vine, Gino Wickman. And so many business owners can't do that. And if they can't do that, a lot of times they're the bottleneck and the problem of their business. They could never exit because the business can't function without them. So how did you personally learn how to release control and build those systems and teams? And what lessons can you transfer over to the audience who might be listening to the same issues?
I'm the only one in New Jersey who has the entrepreneur New Jersey license plate.
Let's go. I'll know it's you if I see you then.
That's old. I've had it for years. Anyhow, so how did I let go? Well, so that business fell apart. I knew the next business I built, I had to build that business around strategy, performance, systems, and processes. Like we talked about before, like I knew that everything I built moving forward, I could not be the business because as the business fell apart, I fell apart. That was my identity. My identity was my company. So I just started building brands and building brands and building brands. And every company I built from that point moving forward, I built brands. So even early 2007, when brands weren't even popular, I was building brands and I was branding and branding and branding. And people talk about branding today. I go, bro, I've been branding while you were in diapers. Like I've been branding. And that's exactly what I'm doing with the Big D movement. Like, bro, look, here's my cup right here, right? Well, here's my Yeti right here. And here's my hat right here. And I wear my brand everywhere I go because I am Big D. I'm the Big D brand. People are like, hey, let me get a shirt. I'm like, no, like I can't give you a shirt.
You're not
It's
Big
me.
D.
Right. Like it's me. I'm not sure these shirts aren't for sale because that's not a line. It's a person. It's an identity. It's a brand. That's me. Like I do have a clothing brand that's launching in 2026 with a book that I'm launching, but that's not my identity. That clothing line is called Unbroken, and it's coming out with a book that I wrote called Unbroken, and they're going to be launched together. And I feel like it's just going to simultaneously help each other. Anyone who buys clothing, we're going to give them a book. Anyone who buys a book, we're going to give them clothing. Like we're going to do some cool shit. But at the end of the day, that's not my brand. That's just something I created off of my brand. Will I start wearing the Unbroken shirt everywhere I go? Like all the different ones? Yes, but I'll always have my Big D hat on. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. So like when I first started this brand, I had like these big, you see it on some of my reels, like I had this big t-shirt with a Big D in the middle. And like, that's who I was because I needed to get the message out there. Now that the brand is built, I don't have to wear that Big D shirt anymore. You know what I'm saying? I can just wear the hat, wear a regular t-shirt, whatever. But people don't understand the importance of like, people hear, see, and know about Big D, but they've never even met him because people say, hey, you got to meet Big D. Who's Big D? Like, no, oh, you got to meet this guy. Right? Like, oh, yeah. Okay. I know I did. Right. But when you create something that makes an identity of you and a brand of you, people are intrigued and people want to know what that brand is about. They want to know how they can be a part of it. So that's exactly the movement that I created with every business that I've done from 2007 to now.
Yeah, the brand piece, like you just said, is differentiating yourself from the business. So if you do, if you're capable of being able to do that, if you have a business, you're not necessarily associated with that. Yeah, did you create it? Did you set up the systems, the processes, the teams, et cetera? Absolutely. But what sells the business, from what I'm listening to you say, is having those things in place and your ability to say, okay, I can remove myself from that, and that business can still be successful. And here I have a brand, which is my identity. So really, I think what a lot of what you've been saying today with me is that it's more important to build a brand and identity based on who you want to become. And most importantly, what does that mean to the marketplace and the people that you serve and the people that you want to make an impact on their lives?
Well, I think it's super important for who I serve and what I do, telling them how you separate the brand from the business.
Yeah,
Because everyone thinks that their business is their identity. And I go, if your business is your identity, that will lock you in and suck you in for the rest of your life. You need to separate it. Like you need to figure out who you are first and then what role you play in your company. If your company was ever to go away, you can't go away with it. Now you take that brand or your identity somewhere else.
for sure.
And you need to make your brand or yourself a movement, becoming impactful. Yes, you build something, now let it go. And you can't be emotionally attached to anything. Too many business owners are emotionally attached to their business.
Sure.
Dude, I'm not emotionally attached to anything, bro. Like people, nothing. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, I am result driven. And if something's not going to drive a result, even what I need to move off.
Yeah. You got to remember that the business that you're building is meant to serve some type of audience. And when you fall too much in love with what you're building and not what you're doing in terms of service, I think, like you just said, that's where the big problem is really understanding who you're trying to serve and what their pain points are or what their desired end results are, and mapping what you do towards that. Not just necessarily like you've seen probably a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, they get into business because of what they're passionate about, and they fall so much in love with the passion of doing it rather than the what is the end result it's going to create for the people that I'm serving, and is it something that they actually want? Is it actually going to be something that's going to build value for them? It's a great point.
So you talked before about like those influencer people, right? Just those influencer people, like those people carry on this whole egotistical thing where, it's them, it's them, it's them, and it's for them and everything else. And, they want to be looked at as a king. When you're building something valuable, you want the person that you're serving to be looked at as a king. You want the person that you're working with to feel like a king. You want the person that is enrolled in you and is buying you because you're selling them something to feel that they're on an equal playing field. When you make somebody feel like a piece of shit, or you make someone feel like they're the lowest, person on the ground, and like there's no way up to you except for like begging, like, bro, that's only going to go so far. You're never going to be able to make a true impact. So I always tell like, people that I coach, I will a bunch of coaching clients and, I'll say, hey, listen, like, just so you know, like I'm exactly who you are. We're just living in two different bodies,
Mm.
and I'm going to just tell you that like you're experiencing things that maybe I've never experienced, and what you need help with, what you're trying to experience right now, I've already experienced. So if there's something that you feel like you can value me with, I'm open. Like, I'm not totally close with it. If there's anything that you want to tell me, that's fine. Text me, call me as much as you want, whatever you need. Like, I don't give people limitations. I have unlimited access because I never know when they're going to need me the most.
A lot of times people don't realize something personal or professional happens in their life that causes them to reach out. And as long as you're viewed as that most trusted resource and you've done a good job of building value up to that point, they're going to reach out to you. It's going to be your phone that ultimately rings when they do reach that. Send back to like the pitching thing is so many people start pitching and they don't even know if the people want what they're pitching, you know? So it's such a great point. And then just the access piece. That's a beautiful thing that you do, to be that gracious with your time to the people that earn and deserve it. Not for everybody, but for the people that earn and deserve it, which is huge. Dan, we're coming up on an hour here and I want to be gracious to your time, and I appreciate all the value that you've given the audience today. If somebody wants to go deeper with you, whether it's coaching, bringing you in to speak to their team, or just following your mission, Where should they go and what's the best first step?
I think the best thing to do is find me on Instagram. Just evaluate me, see what I'm about, see what I offer, see how I talk. I'm super real. I tell everyone what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And I really don't cut corners with any of that. I don't believe in it. So check me out on Instagram, Big Dan Official. I have tons of different pages. My main page is dansachkowsky.com. I've got Big D coaching /101. I got Big D mastermind. So I have a mastermind in New Jersey and I have a mastermind in West Palm Beach, Florida for the entire year, 2026, every quarter. So if you're a high level entrepreneur in New Jersey or in South Florida, connect with me. We'll get you in the mastermind. Big D speaking. So any events that I need to be speaking at or people need, what I can offer, bigdspeaking.com. And realistically, man, if someone in the audience here just needed a little bit of advice, I'm free. So just hit me up on Instagram and send me a DM. And I'll go as long as I can with you until I feel like I can't help you. And I'm not going to say, okay, yes, I'll give you that answer if you pay me 20 grand. No, I will get super deep with you and I will try to help you as much as I can to a point where I know that you're not taking advantage of what I'm giving you and you're actually like implementing it. And then if you wanted to go deeper, I can offer you opportunities to go deeper. But sometimes, people just need a simple message, and a little bit of back and forth on Instagram and, they're good to go. And I don't hear from them for 2, 3, 4, 5 months. And they come back and tell me like, your advice changed my life.
Yeah.
Great. Love to hear it. Love to hear it. It's not about the money.
Amen to that, man. It's about the impact, like we talked about a lot today. And I appreciate your genuine approach to how you want to help people. And I'm sure that anybody that reaches out to Dan, I'll be including the links that you had just mentioned in the comments, the description rather, for the video. So if anybody wants to reach out to Dan, you know where to find him. And I just got one last thing to ask you that I ask every guest that comes on the show, which is finish this sentence for me. At this point in the world needs more people who
Make an impact.
love it. That's it. Awesome, my man. Any last things that you want to leave the audience?
Let me just follow up why I said that.
Please.
The world has enough followers, right? Everyone looks up to someone that they'll never be or ever meet. For instance, for the last Wednesday through Sunday, me and my 2 sons, we went to 2 cities, went to 5 pro sports games in 5 days. First game we went to was the Detroit Red Wings game on Thanksgiving Eve. On Thanksgiving, we were at the NFL Detroit game. We drove to Pittsburgh on Saturday. Afternoon, we went to a U Pitt game. Saturday night, we went to the Penguins game. And Sunday, we went to the Bills Steelers game. 95% of the people in that stadium have somebody's name on the back of their jersey. They're wearing somebody else's name and somebody else's number. I will never wear somebody else's name and somebody else's jersey. Listen, I have Josh Allen right there, autographed on my wall, helmet and jersey. I have Cook right there. I have Espinosa right up there.
Hey,
I have
Mafia.
That's it. Bill's Mafia, bro. Like I have a whole downstairs. I probably got 30 or 40 signed jerseys and hats and footballs and everything. And they go on the wall because that's a memorabilia piece. I will never, ever wear someone's name on my back because I am not a fan of anybody more than I'm a fan of myself. So what I did appreciate was seeing a couple of these people at the games that had their last name on the back with maybe 00, because that means you're a fan, but you believe in yourself enough to put your name in the back to say, hey, this is me. So the world follows too many people. Be a person who makes an impact. We have enough followers in this world. We need people to start changing lives, not duplicating the same boring life that everybody else has.
Well, that's exactly why I created this podcast, my man. And I appreciate you dropping some bombs here in regards to that. And I think that the people listening will also appreciate it. So I thank you. This has been another incredible episode of Great American Underdog, where you can find the courage to act, the resilience to keep going, and the discipline when motivation fades. See you on the next one.